Hi guys, it's Corey here. During the recording of this episode, Maddie would not stop singing, so I decided to have a little fun with autotune. I'm not very good with it yet, but I think it made her vocals weird enough that I've gotten my revenge. I hope you agree. Enjoy the show.
The bell tolls. The midnight hour is upon us. It's time once again for two internet strangers to discuss the good and evil of the horror genre. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the terror within the Hallow-Holics Anonymous podcast.
This episode for the week is going to be just a short little mini-sode because we have both been kind of down and out for the count thanks to allergies, schoolwork, and possibly the plague.
Definitely the bubonic plague. That's what I hear.
All right, so without further ado, hope you enjoy our little mini-sode. Listeners, Corey told me something horrifying recently, and I, of course, had to... what's the word for fix?
Was it when I told you that you had terrible digital style? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to start that already.
Look, there's a pie graph.
Digital style. It's my favorite part. Anyway.
I love every episode. They all have amazing music. But
yeah.
No, what he told me is, and I rectified the situation as quickly as I could, he had never heard of Too Many Cooks.
Yeah,
this is when the audience, I encourage you to gasp and cuss him out.
Oh, my students all gasped and were like, "What's wrong with you? You're so much older than we thought." Like, they don't look at me like a peer anymore. They look at me like their boss, like I am. It sucks.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, yeah, if we're starting with Too Many Cooks, I didn't actually take notes on it because I didn't start forming an opinion until today. Yeah. But I definitely have enough to talk about it in my brain, so...
Let's do it.
All right. We will start with Too Many Cooks from the Adult Swim Network.
It takes a lot to make a stew. You're welcome. Now you'll be singing for the rest of the day.
Me and you. Too many
and
cooks.
Him and her and the baby too.
So... Too Many Cooks. Do you want to start this? Or do you want me to start it?
Oh, yeah, sure. It takes a lot to make a stew.
Jesus Christ. So we're not going to talk about it. We're just going to sing that line repeatedly.
Too many cooks, it's true.
Too many cooks.
Too many cooks.
Too many cooks.
Too many cooks.
Too many cooks. All right, yeah. I'm starting to go falsetto. That's a bad sign. All right, so Too Many Cooks. I'm sure since most of you have your fingers much closer to the pulse of popular culture than I do, you'll know this
I thought you were going to say the fast forward button.
No. Too Many Cooks starts out as a pretty typical theme to a family comedy sitcom. And then it's just keeps going. And
exactly.
Going, and going. And it just gets darker and more insane, and then it's all of a sudden a cop TV show, and then it's science fiction, and everybody gets murdered, and there's a cat. At first glance, and up until today, I thought it was just a ridiculous, meaningless Adult Swim thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was talking to one of my students about it, and...
Adult Swim is smarter than people give it credit for.
Yeah, much smarter than people give it credit for. Yeah, I was talking to one of my students, and I didn't realize it was so related to Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. The theme...
Was it?
Well, I think the themes... Yeah.
I can see that.
But yeah, I think that the themes are definitely very much related. But if you wanna go ahead and take it from there and give me your take on the whole thing, I'll let you know if that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, definitely. So, it takes a lot to make us.
Every time you sing Too Many Cooks, I'm just gonna say digital style.
You actually get that voice done pretty well.
I've been practicing.
It's this 10-minute nightmarish de-evolution of every 80s and 90s sitcom you've ever seen. And there's a running theme throughout the entire episode that becomes more prevalent as it goes on until he finally becomes the main character. And it's sort of
he's always there. I didn't notice that until today, too.
That's what makes this infinitely rewatchable, is finding him like Waldo in the background of pretty much every frame. It's very surreal in the traditional sense of surrealism, which is actually surrealism at its root is about trolling people. The idea is that you make something insane for people to read into and try to understand, when in fact there's nothing there to understand.
So I don't know if you want to go by the true definition of surrealism. I don't know if this fits then.
Well, that's just my opinion.
Okay, I really think there is a definite meaning behind this.
Oh, is it violence in American television?
It is not violence in American television. We're going to get right back into this when we get into Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. But I really think that this is more about network executives and advertising agencies getting their hands into creative endeavor and just destroying it. I think that the serial killer characters, what was his name? He's got a name.
I don't remember his name.
I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Excellent research, as always, from your amazing podcast co-hosts. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Corey. And we're
we
failures.
Have too many cooks.
Digital style. Yeah, I think that he represents the network executives wanting to change and add and rework and reboot and destroy what somebody else is creating. And I think that in this case, it's the cat. The cat actually represents the creator of this work because he's the only one that's really seen fighting the serial killer.
Sort of like that episode of Rocko's Modern Life where Ed Bighead's son basically represents the writer.
Okay. I wasn't really a Rocko's fan, but I saw some weird things we should talk about at some other time about Rocco's that nobody else has seen, so I might be crazy. Anyway, this is turning into a no sleep thing, but that's not what it is. So yeah, I think the cat...
there's this show I used to watch when I was a kid, and my parents don't remember it. They said I would just stare at static on the television.
Was it a puppet show? Was it called Candle Cove?
No, actually it was just static. I was a weird kid.
Yeah, I imagine you were a pretty weird kid. All right, so yeah, the cat represents the creator of this, defending his work, while the serial killer is the network executives or ad executives destroying his work by retooling and reworking and ruining. And you can see this because, like I said, the cat's the only one that's ever defeating the serial killer during this whole thing, until you get to the end where he presses the reset button and you think everything's going to be okay, and the entire cast sits down and it looks like they're going to have some sort of cohesive chaos, I guess, until the serial killer's face is overlaid with the dad character in the middle of the couch, and then you realize that this is an ongoing thing. It never ends. It's very hard to be creative in a network setting. That's what I think. It's pretty obvious to me that that's what it means.
Yeah, that actually, to your point you just made, you proved my point.
How so?
Well, you tried to read into something that could have just been a plotless story for the purpose of looking like it had a plot.
True, and I guess we'll never really know because I don't think anybody's ever going to admit they put a meaning behind this, but I really feel like... And you're right, my favorite art is art that doesn't actually have meaning. It's why I like David Lynch so much. He's admitted his movies don't have any meaning. So it's this meditation where you get what you want out of it, and I love that kind of stuff.
Have you ever watched Jinshin Andalou?
No.
It's the Dali 10-minute classic silent film. It is incredible. There is nothing you can get out of it, but it challenges your brain to keep wanting to come up with some kind of story behind all of the strange events that happen. There's even a cameo he has where this guy, kind of hard to describe the film because it's insane, and it's only 10 minutes, so really, I definitely recommend watching it just as a classic film in general. But there's this bit where the guy becomes super strong and he pulls on this rope and he tries to drag it out his bedroom window, and then on the rope is I think a piano or something, and then eventually a horse, and then eventually two very confused looking priests, and one of the priests is Dali himself, and it's pretty
that's
funny.
Cool. It actually reminds me, we may be getting off subject a little bit, but the idea of surrealism and art not necessarily having a meaning unless you ascribe it to it, I have, I'm looking at it right now. It's right above my studio / office work area / bedroom. I do everything in this room. My boss, a few years ago, I came into work, and it was right before Christmas. And there was this wrapped package that said, don't open till Christmas. So I didn't. I opened it at Christmas, and I found this nice little card, and it said something to the effect of, I know this is an extravagance you would never buy for yourself, so I thought I would buy it for you. And he bought me this beautiful painting. He runs a gallery as another, I don't want to call it a side job, but yeah, he runs an amazing gallery. But this painting is of this woman sort of in a dance pose with her left hand over her head. She's standing on a rock in this river, and the rock is like maybe 10 feet away from a waterfall. The waterfall cuts off, so you can't tell if it's very deep, if it's, you know, if it would be a long fall, but I look at this every day and think about it a lot. And depending on my mood, this is a very hopeful woman looking towards the horizon to her future. And then in my darker days, this is a woman trying to decide if she's going to jump into this abyss. This is the most amazing thing. I've never owned an actual piece of art like this before. And I love that I can just sit here and based on my mood get different
feelings,
beliefs, and meaning out of it.
Yeah. I've always loved surrealism. I love to stare at a picture with a million pictures in it.
Do you mean like those magic eye pictures? Back down to low class, Corey. Good work.
No, I used to have a poster of these two little girls who looked like they were cut out from something and that they had puzzle pieces missing from their stomach. And they were climbing into a sailboat that was sailing into an ocean, but it wasn't really an ocean because there were sort of hidden images within the ocean, like shapes and stuff. And then if you looked at it in a different way, there was stuff in the sky, and you weren't really sure what was happening. It looked like they were sailing out of a bedroom into the ocean. And it was just a fun thing to stare at and to try to find all the different drawings within the drawing.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I really wish I still had that poster. Now that we're done with that,
well, did you take anything from Too Many Cooks that I didn't, or did you just like it for what it was?
You know, honestly, at the heart of it, I think it was just a director who got the option for just a short feature film on Adult Swim. He was like, okay, I want to do something really funny, off the wall, crazy, but I also love slasher films. So maybe I can combine the thing that's the most intense and dark thing I can think of, like a serial killer, a really creepy serial killer who has no morals, and then pair it with the most heartwarming elements of American television I can think of, like the sickly sweet stuff that isn't reality, and combine them together to make this dark and yet also happy mix between them.
So listeners, if you want to, we will give you all of our information at the end of this, but if you want to tell us we're wrong or give us any more information you may have on this, you can tweet at us. I'll give you that information at the end, so you can get through the podcast.
And also, we'd love some shout outs, even just a little audio clip of you telling us something, and we will cut it into the podcast provided it is appropriate.
Yeah, that would be great as well. Appropriate is subjective, but we do have final call on this.
If you wouldn't tell it to your sane grandmother, not the crazy one, then you probably shouldn't say it.
Oh, I said a lot of crazy stuff to my sane grandma, but that's beside the point.
Well, don't we all?
Yeah.
But don't. Please don't.
Yeah, no. All right, so next up, I hope you don't mind that I'm introducing this.
Oh, don't. Okay, I don't.
Next up is Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared.
Oh, I love it.
As I was watching, I had seen this a while ago. Actually, I had seen the first episode when everybody was ranting and raving about it, and I didn't know that it was going to become a series, so I actually didn't see the rest of it until about a year ago. But as I was watching it this last time, before I even looked into any possible meanings, I wrote down some thoughts while I was watching it. Do you mind if I run them by you and see what you
Go ahead.
think of some of them?
Definitely.
Okay, so some of these don't really require a response, but some of them
do. Okay,
yeah,
go on.
some of them are just facts and some of them never. So my first question for you is, do you think this started the whole Elsa Gate thing?
I don't know what Elsa Gate is.
Elsa Gate's a thing that happened on YouTube where people were gaming the algorithm for children's programming.
Oh, no, I don't think that's where it started at all. I know what you're talking about.
It feels like there was I don't blame Don't Hug Me because it's too amazing of a thing to blame for something as terrible as us. It really is. I didn't really see any of that weird children's stuff before this existed, but that doesn't mean it wasn't already there. I was just curious.
You didn't have my childhood.
All right, so as I was going through this, I was having thoughts like the date June 19th kept coming up, but I'm thinking, have they maybe been missing since June 19th?
I think there was a missing poster.
Yeah, there was a missing poster at
during
one
the
point.
Picnic.
And I think I talk about that in the whole meaning section of this. Do you have any theories as to why Malcolm, the King of Love, eats gravel?
Well, either he's a reference to the character in Neverending Story, or it was just funny and obtuse to suddenly throw it in there in the middle of the song.
Okay, I'm going to go with that. So my next note is sing digital style as often as possible, so digital style!
Hey, look, a pie chart! Digital dancing! Hey, this is fun!
Digital style. All right, some of this starts to bleed into my notes on the meaning, but in episode 4, Red found the studio and his mind literally blew, but we'll get to that. And this threw me for an absolute loop. I did not catch this part. In the food episode, Duck is in the hospital getting eaten by a can, and then Yellow is eating Duck from the can. That was insane. I didn't get that until I watched it the last time, Maddie, and that just crushed my brain.
I'm not sure if I remember catching that. But that's a really good point.
It's twisted. Like it took me, I think that was my third watch before I caught that. And then I started wondering, did something, and I have answers to a lot of this too, I think. And then I started wondering, did something terrible happen to them on June 19th? And they're living out some sort of dream hell? Like, is this a limbo for them? That kind of thing.
Did you see their sort of prequel episode that had been done for their Kickstarter? It was just like a 10, 20-second little video.
I did not.
Okay, so there's a video. Actually, let's pull it up real quick so you can see it. This might actually clear a few things up for you on that date.
Well, I'm actually pretty cleared up on the date already, but I'm curious.
Well, this might add to your experience. And this is the first video. The very first. Before they
this
actually
came
did the
out
first
before
episode.
Creative?
And that's June 19th, 1955.
Yeah, I've got more on that. And it's interesting that he called this his dad's house. I have stuff on that too. Wow, okay. So listeners, we just watched the short that happened before Creative that I hadn't seen yet. And I think that this actually still fits into my
narrative,
my meaning behind this. So Red Guy is working a desk job and being totally unfulfilled with everyone looking the same as him. That was just another thing I noticed to come back to later. And why do they come back as different color after Red unplugs the monitor? And I also have an answer for that.
There was a really good theory I had actually watched that broke it down pretty nicely for me, and I kind of believed that one. I believe a major television event, I want to say it was the first broadcast event, something along those lines, happened on June 19th, 1955.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like me to tell you what that is?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. In 1954 to 1955 was the first independent UK TV station who relied on advertising to fund shows. Therefore, giving some creative control to the advertiser. That was the first time in Britain that TV was more about making money than it was about quality entertainment. Because I'm sure most of you know, listeners, that British TV was funded by the government and people paid a TV tax. So there weren't ads, so people were able to create actual things they wanted to create rather than saccharine, stamped out cop shows, basically. So yeah, that's what happened there.
Cool. I'm glad you cleared that up for me.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned them changing color. I think they're a new generation. I think they represent a new generation.
In a way, I think you're right.
But then again, one of them said his favorite color was green, and then in this new life, he turned green.
He was green. Yeah, exactly. And that to me also meant that green had become a creative color. It's all about, this again goes back to advertising and network executives. There's no mistake that they pointed us to 55. You know, that's what they wanted us to find there. So there's no doubt in my mind at this point that Yellow's father represents, in this case, the advertisers. As the show goes further, all the characters that are introduced are trying to pull them away from actual educational television. Because Red is the creator of the show. Red wanted to make an educational television show for kids. But as they get advertising, things get more and more warped and wrong. Like the whole green is not a creative color. The computer episode, he keeps saying things like, well, we already have a computer, but this computer wants to talk because it wants to show you that you can do all this frivolous stuff on the internet and there's nothing to learn here. You know what I mean? It's all about consume, buy.
Yeah, the only time they got close to a real answer, the globe was shut up.
And that was it. They wanted to learn about that, but the globe was shut up. In the time episode, at one point, Duck tries to explain that time isn't an actual thing. It's a concept created by us. That's when the clock's alarm starts going off in a very terrifying way. And in the computer episode, when Red leaves, he's never seen again. And that's because Red quit. Red just had enough and he quit the show. He left his own show. And there's a lot more to this, but we'll skip to the end because we don't want to get... I'm sure millions of people have gotten into all of this, and I'm really curious to see if you agree with any of this. So at the end of the final episode, when Red sees the monitors, he realizes how much his show is actually ruined educating children rather than helping kids learn.
Mm-hmm.
Because of this advertising and because of Yellow's father. So in the end, when Roy's long, creepy hand comes out, Roy, I keep calling him Yellow's dad, his name's Roy, I forgot about that. In the end, when Roy reaches out for Red, it's not a threat, but it's more, Red, come back to us, we can do this. And then Red decides to go pull the plug. And when he pulls the plug, that's when they all change colors and they're in this new set. And if you notice, that new set has nothing, it's empty. There's no props, there's very few because the budget's lower. So this is actually Red and his friends starting to make the show that they want to make on their budget, but they're free again, which is why they change colors.
That's an interesting, I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, for me, I don't think the father character represents advertisers, but it does represent the money. I think it represents more the producers than the advertisers.
Well, producers. I'm using it all as sort of a disposable... I'm just using advertisers as an enemy, but you're right.
Yeah, I kind of also think part of the story is, part of the point of the series is it's about growing up. Red is bored. He's the adult at the end of the story. He represents the older children. I think Bird represents like children who are coming close to that time where they're a little bit more cynical, but they still have a lot of innocence about them. And then I think Yellow represents the youngest. And these are all the three ages that are being raised by essentially television. And the progression of each story getting darker and darker, quicker and quicker, you see them all reaching the adulthood. That's why Red reaches it first, and then Bird, and finally Yellow.
Oh, that's really
once
interesting
he's left alone.
too.
Yeah.
There's also a great if we want to stick to the Roy as the producer thing, there's a really great reason that Yellow is there and Yellow is Roy's son. It's because Roy is, I mean, not great. It's actually kind of terrible. But Roy is an abusive father, and he actually hates his son, and he puts his son in all these situations that just torture and terrify him. Yellow goes through the worst. Like Yellow gets the worst of it throughout all. If you watch that. And it's all
definitely.
because his dad is punishing him for not being the son he wants. It's pretty dark.
I can definitely see that as an idea too.
Yeah.
But, I've read interviews with the creators who basically love that people have a million different readings for this. They say that's why they created it, because they wanted people to come up with their own beliefs behind the storyline.
And there's a rabbit hole there, man. You can spend hours watching YouTube videos about crazy theories like mine that are pretty grounded, to like these crazy conspiracy theories relating the dates to crazy pseudo-numerology and stuff. The rabbit hole goes deep here.
I think when I was probably 7 or 8, I would have loved this stuff.
Oh, for sure. This was exactly right up my alley when I was a kid.
My final note on this, even though it's a very minor one, is that I love the set pieces. I love how much detail they go into with like every little thing in the house and the outside, everything. Like even stuff like, did you notice they have knives on the wall?
Yeah.
At the house, stuff like that. It's, who thinks of that? That is so much attention to detail, and it really adds to the.
Yeah, and they reuse props too. Like I think you see the globe in a couple of places. Every time you watch it, you see something new. Like I didn't notice that in the Love episode when they get to the cult part where everybody's surrounding Malcolm, that Red and Duck are also there.
Are they?
Yeah, Red and Duck are there.
Huh.
It's pretty crazy. But yeah, every time I watch it, I find something new. It's great.
Well, it's funny, that Love episode is interesting because it's almost like it's telling you what society teaches you about having a child, because in the end, he's alone, then his baby is born, and then the bird kills it.
Right.
He's left alone, and then he has a dead child. Yeah, that could have been a reference to abortion or something.
And that's also more punishment from his father, probably. And it's also, that whole thing is the show telling you how to love. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's very deep. For a puppet show, it is very deep.
Lived in a cave underground. Lived in a cave underground.
Digital style. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's a good show. Too many cooks. Okay, so just remember, you can find us on our blog, Hallow-Holic.blogspot.com. Sometimes we attach extra little videos and things to that blog entry to go along with the podcast. And you can also find the mirror site, Hallow-Holic.wordpress.com. You can email us at... Give me a second here. I always forget this information. You can email us at Hallow-Holics@outlook.com. Give us a shout out, send us your audio, whatever you want to email us. Just no inappropriate photos, please, unless you tag them to Corey.
Oh, great. I'm not even going to speculate on what I'm going to get. You can also tweet at us at Hallow-Holics at Nowhere23 on Twitter.com, of course. All right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.